The latest Pompey news, updates every day from the Pompey Sound news desk.
A Terry Devlin double was not enough to prevent Pompey from falling to a 3-2 championship defeat at Hull. The wing-back opened the scoring with a deflected strike, only for the hosts to hit back through Ennis Destin and Kyle Joseph. Devlin nodded home a Blues equaliser before the break, but Joe Gelhardt's neat finish in the second half won it for the Tigers. John Messinio made one enforced change from the side held to a draw by Wrexham on home soil earlier in the week. Connor Ogilvie hurt his knee against the Red Dragons and was replaced in the left wing-back role by Jordan Williams, with academy defender Ashton Sizer earning a spot on the bench. There were remembrance commemorations before kick-off, with Colby Bishop laying a poppy wreath before the last post played, and a minute's silence was observed. Both sides looked to get forward once the action started, although the visitors' promising attacks did not lead to any clear-cut opportunities. The Tigers went close on a couple of occasions though, with Josip Bursic spreading himself to deny Joseph. A long pass from keeper Ivar Pandur was then flicked on by Destin for Gelhardt to race onto, only for the winger to drag his shot wide. But Pompey began to threaten themselves, and a wide free kick from Josh Murphy had to be beaten away by Pandur. And they broke the deadlock on 16 minutes after Connor Chaplin's delivery was only cleared as far as Devlin, whose 25-yard strike deflected into the net of Joseph. It almost got even better, but after efforts from Williams and Chaplin were blocked, Murphy cut onto his right foot and forced a near-post save from Pandur. Hull hit back, however, after a low Louis Coyle cross was not dealt with, allowing Destin to fire Hull back on level terms. They played with more of a spring in their step after that, and Joseph glanced to Gelhardt's centre wide of the post, and the hosts went ahead on 42 minutes, as Gelhardt's corner was nodded home by Joseph, despite Devlin's appeals that he had been fouled by the forward. There was still time for the Blues to hit back before the break though, and when Murphy crossed from the left, Devlin found space to head in his second goal of the afternoon. Half-time, Messinio made a switch at the break, with Luke Leroux replaced by skipper Marlon Pack in the middle of the pitch. There was then a worrying moment when Devlin took a Ryan Giles shot straight in the face, but the Northern Ireland international was fine to continue. The visitors had to see off a couple of Hull corners in quick succession, but there was not much to trouble either keeper in the early stages of the half. Regan Slater did fling himself at a Ryan Giles cross for the Tigers on 64 minutes, although was unable to keep his header down. There was a dangerous attack down the left at the other end of the pitch, with Murphy's low cross well cleared by Charlie Hughes. Messinio made another switch on 75 minutes, and there was to be no unlikely hat-trick for Devlin, as he made way for Zach Swanson. But just as it seemed like the game was tailing off towards a draw, the home side restored their advantage. Hughes played a pinpoint long pass towards Gelhardt, who coolly brought the ball down and lifted it over Bursic. The visitors were then almost caught out by a free kick, with Tigers substitute Joel Ndala lashing a shot into the side netting. Pompey responded by making a double switch, with Mackenzie Kirk and Min Hyuk Yang on for Chaplin and Ibane Bawat. They committed plenty of players forward, and the display of 8 additional minutes provided some hope. The best chance came when Pack sent a pass into the box from deep, but Kirk's header bounced down into the turf and was claimed by Pandur. Bursic also came up for a corner right at the very end, and when the ball was sent back into the box, he nodded over as Hull held on for the 3 points.
Yeah, we're in the game for large parts. Started the game really well, really positively, and ultimately the 3 goals that we give away, particularly the third one, once we'd settled down and once we'd actually, for 35 minutes in the second half, been very, very solid. We didn't have a huge amount of pressure on the ball, but we had been solid. We hadn't looked like conceding, and it's one of those days we think, okay, on the turnover we might get something, but we just conceded such a poor goal, and ultimately it was too much for us to come back. Yeah, we just have to, we can't score 2 goals away from home and come away losing the game, particularly in the manner of, of the defeat, the manner of the goals, the way that we defended at times. But it's definitely, there's definitely have to look at it and go, well, everybody's disappointed with that third goal, but also in the second half when we dropped in. Anytime we broke with the ball, we just didn't have enough quality. We didn't take care of the ball, we didn't go forward enough, and we didn't break with enough purpose. It was like we were just a little bit apologetic, unless the ball goes out to Murph. And we just have to find something that makes us loads more positive, attacking and front-footed. Frustrating. It's something that we looked at in terms of Hughes and Gelhardt and their relationship, and that obviously makes it worse. The players know that in there, and I think that's when sides score goals that perhaps you're not expecting, or they've done something brilliant, you think that's that's one to take that you have to probably take on the chin as a coach, but not today.
So,
We just needed to make sure that we dealt with some of Hull's threats. I thought we pressed pretty well, but whenever Hull went longer, the difference between us having success in the game and not was whether we won that first contact and second contact. And you could probably sum up the game in the second half where sum up the game at half time when we'd scored the goal by making sure we won the ball back and delivered the ball in the box with good quality. And 30 seconds later, Hull have got a really good chance because we don't deal with the ball in the left back area where we've got two players that don't compete for it properly, and ultimately that's what cost us. Was the right thing to do. I thought it was a pretty fair sub considering the first half. Well, the effort is there, the endeavour's there, the work rate's there, all of those basics are there, but the penny has to drop at some point in terms of us making sure we keep the ball out of the back of the net and making sure we show a load more composure on the turnover as well. So there's a lot to unpick, and I want the boys to just realise that the penny at some point has to drop in terms of what it takes to compete at this level. It was brilliant to see Terry start the other night, play so well, and do the same again today, and deserves his goals, gets himself into the back post, puts his foot through the shot on the edge of the box, and it's going to be a bittersweet one for him. Got to reflect on the start to the season, and now we've got a lot of games coming up, and it's going to be a really sort of crucial period for us between now and between now and Christmas. It's probably going to define where we are this year, and we've got plenty of games when we come back. Ultimately we have to come back and be ready to fight and be ready to play and be ready to perform at a higher level. But we do have to take I think we've got to take the negatives from what we've been doing as well, and really improve and make sure that we're realistic about the position.
A subdued John Messino. We were all subdued. We're still subdued. It's the day after. It'll be at least until Tuesday before we're not feeling quite so subdued. Is that 1 point from 4 or 5 games now? And they've been challenging because we have got an injury crisis. We must never forget that. But at the same time, we're not getting the pleasure out of watching the Blues that we hope for with every game, have a certain expectation of, and therefore a certain disappointment, greater than disappointment. It can be pretty miserable. Waking up on a Sunday morning after a result like that, which so easily could have been a decent point, as Steve Bone predicted elsewhere, a 2-2 draw, he said, against Hull. Well, Hull any good? Well, they're up there towards the top of the table, so they're doing something right. And they've got some very talented players, of course. Most of the sides that we're going to be playing this season can say the same, and they're well organised. Our manager will always say we've got to give them full respect because they're very well organised. But other teams, John Messino seemed to hint, in the Championship have got something that we have to learn, and it's something about a penny dropping, about competing at this level. Well, we more than competed at this level for the last 10 or 12 games of last season. We refreshed the squad, apparently improved it, and the penny is still up there. Now, will it drop over the next couple of weeks of the international break? Hope so, but what is that penny? I think I personally would sum it up like this. Go forward. Don't go sideways or backwards until you've seen that there is no way of going forward. Then go sideways, or perish the thought, backwards. Being a traditional football fan, I don't like to see it when we've worked the ball towards the edge of their penalty area and we've got like 3 or 4 guys in and around the area and they don't look as though they've reorganised themselves fully. But because there isn't an obvious pass on, it will go sideways and then it will go back and then it will go back again and it ends up with the keeper. It doesn't happen very often, but ever is too often for me. So a penny must drop. That's one of the pennies I'd like to see drop. I mean, if you've got a moment and you want to bother, do tell. Our email address is radiopompey@gmail.com.
Pompey defender Conor Ogilvie is facing 10 to 12 weeks on the sidelines. Blues boss John Mousinho has confirmed the left-back will be out for a significant chunk of the season after picking up a knee injury in Wednesday night's 0-0 draw with Wrexham. Ogilvy was forced off after just 27 minutes when Issa Kabora caught him with a heavy challenge, one that somehow didn't even result in a free kick. It was his first match back after sitting out the 4-0 hammering at Birmingham due to illness. Now the former Spurs man who'd started every game this season is looking at missing at least another 15 matches following scan results. Those are pretty much his only options right now, with Jacob Farrell still struggling with a groin injury. Both players started Saturday's match at Hull, with Mousinho going with 3 centre-backs and Williams at left wing-back. Unfortunately, the makeshift pairing were caught out for Hull's winner, with neither tracking Joe Gelhardt's run as he scored in the 79th minute. Ogilvy was one of 10 Pompey players unavailable for the 3-2 defeat at Hull through injury. John Mousinho had this to say.
We're looking at 10 to 12 weeks for Connor. We're just waiting on the surgeon just to get back to us. But it looks like, as we feared, with the knee. It's a massive blow really. We're thin on the ground anyway at the moment with the amount of players we've got out, and one extra player who has pretty much started every game so far this season, apart from obviously the one where he missed with an illness last week at Birmingham City. So yeah, it's tough.
It is a massive blow. It is a massive, massive blow. Elsewhere in the week on Pompey Sound, we were talking about the fact that, although he might not be our most eminent footballer, Connor Ogilvy is at least as important on the pitch as any other Pompey player because of the way he plays the game, because of his die-hard spirit, because of his tenacity in the 50-50s and the aerial duels, because of the way he gets forward and gets himself into threatening positions and is always there and thereabouts to make the tackle. That third goal against Hull wouldn't have gone in if he'd been there, would it? We know that. We all know that. That alone, that clattering that he got that's taken him out of the game for 10 to 12 weeks, cost us a point at Hull. And how many more points is it going to cost us? How many more points is it going to cost us that we can't rely on Mr. Reliable Connor Ogilvy? Well, the January transfer window is nearly upon us. There will be some free transfer players available. We do quite well in the free transfer market. We at the moment are not just in need of a left back, we are desperate for a left back and to revert to 4 at the back, which we can do when we've got ourselves a designated specialist left back. Come on, let's go, recruitment team.
After the game, Terry Devlin spoke to the press.
It's pretty bittersweet to score my first goal in the championship, then get another, but we don't get the points. That was always going to be the most important thing. And it means any personal achievements basically mean nothing. It's obviously frustrating to come away from home, score 2 goals as a team, and still end up losing the game. We defended poorly after showing plenty of good character to get ourselves back on level terms at the break. I thought we looked pretty solid after the break, and it didn't really look like anything was going to happen. Then we just switched off for 1 second and the ball ends up in the back of our net, which is so disappointing. Things aren't going right for us at the moment. It's something that we need to get to the bottom of as soon as possible, and I know the lads will be hard at work. We started well and have had a bit of a blip, but it's up to us to get it right. We're honestly not far away and have to stick together as a club to drag each other along.
Just to be clear, those were the words of Terry Devlin, but not the voice of Terry Devlin. Didn't he take the goals well, and didn't he celebrate the goals well? He went to celebrate the goals with the travelling fans. Fantastic. And the rest of the team came over and gave him some really enthusiastic, sincere hugs and grabbing hold of the face and putting the forehead against the forehead. I saw Colby Bishop do that. Really pleased for the lad. He's obviously a very popular individual amongst the squad. And he's a very popular individual amongst the fans because he gets the job done. And what a job he does. His defending was it immaculate? I can't think of a clanger such as took place on the other side of defence in the, whatever it was, the 72nd minute. Not going there. It was just unfortunate. No one to blame, and yet there were 2 players who could have done better. Anyway, Devlin defended well, and when he got forward, he scored twice. And I love this statistic, which we've mentioned before, and I'll mention it again. He's our second top scorer, all achieved not only just in the same game, but in the same half of that game. So, 11 Terry Devlins, eh? And doesn't he play where he wants?